How's it going, lads and lasses? We got a couple action figures here for this review. These are both from McFarlane's Witcher series, specifically the Netflix side of things. This is for Season 1 Geralt. We have just regular Geralt there on the left, and on the right we have Witcher mode Geralt. I didn't intend to get both at first until I realized that neither of them come with both of his swords. So if you want both swords, you have to get both, or you can also wait until Roach comes out, and Roach comes with the silver sword. But I didn't really want to wait, and Roach is more expensive, so I just went ahead and got Witcher mode Geralt too. The only real difference is the head. So I'm going to go ahead and go over accessories real quick, since I talked about the swords. So regular Geralt just comes with his regular sword. There's one issue with the scabbard on his back. It's warped, just how things can be, and as a result, when you put it in, the sword gets a little warped because McFarlane decided to make it out of a more rubbery plastic, as opposed to the game Witcher, which they were nice solid plastic swords. But it's actually fairly easy to bend it back into place, so it's not a huge deal. And Witcher mode Geralt comes with the silver sword. It's not as much of an issue with this because the scabbard is too big for this sword. So it'll sit there for a pose, but if you're moving him around a lot, it's going to fall out. It's the same scabbard, so they didn't bother to change it between figures. Alright, so let's get into the articulation here, and I'll just use regular Geralt as the example here. So he has a neck swivel and a ball joint there, but you don't get much length of motion there because the hair is really solid. The hair is more solid than the damn sword, so it really limits how far you can go back. You can go forward quite a bit, but you can't have him looking up. You have to move his whole torso. The shoulder actually has like a butterfly joint in there, so you get quite a bit out of the shoulder, and it's in this weird place where it's stiff, but at the same time it moves really well. So it's stiff so that it stays in place, but it moves around really well in spite of that. It's kind of weird to explain, but I like that. You got double jointed elbows there. You can get quite a bit out of that. You could, in theory, make a pose of him pulling out his sword. I wouldn't recommend it because the sword will warp. Anyways, you get a swivel on the hand there. You can see it's like a disc joint, which can rotate around, so you can swivel it that way. So for the torso, you know, this is just kind of like a chest, like a rubber chest piece put over the whole chest, and all the articulations hidden with that. It's the same that they did with the video game Geralt. And it works better on this one because the video game Geralt, it was soft, a lot softer than this, and so that would actually get a little warped. But I'll get into that later because I'll bring him out for a bit. Legs kick out back and forth. And you can actually do the splits with Geralt. So then you got a little swivel right up there on the thigh. You got double jointed knees. And then you have a little disc joint and a little bit of a rocker on the foot there. Not crazy. It might just be stiff. It is sort of like a pseudo Marvel Legends rocker on the foot. And you get quite a bit of swivel there. So let's take a look at the face. What I'll say about the face for regular Geralt is that it looks a lot better than the promo images. If you saw the promo images, they almost deterred me for a bit there. But I'm glad that I got it because it looks a lot better. So let's look at the face for Witcher mode Geralt. But it's more like creepypasta Geralt. You know, it looks like, oh, I was watching The Witcher on Netflix, and Geralt turned to the screen and started screaming, and his eyes started bleeding. The last accessory that they both come with is the standard McFarlane disc stand. They don't really need them, though. They can stand well enough on their own. Maybe if you get some crazy poses, you might need it, but I don't know. Alright, so how do I feel about these figures, and do I recommend them? What I will say is I definitely recommend regular Geralt. There's a lot going for this figure. I do have some gripes, but what's great about it is the articulation is awesome. It's killer. McFarlane has really stepped up with articulation. You know, when they initially made that switch from their 5-inch line, which was pretty detailed, pretty articulated, they switched to the 7-inch line. Those were basically statues with some swivel joints, and I don't collect statues. It's not my thing. I like action figures. But since then, you know, I've gotten a few different figures from their newer line. I've gotten a lot of the Doom figures, which are pretty good. And then, of course, some Witcher ones. I'm really happy with regular Geralt. My only real gripes are mostly with the sword, because you only get the one. You just get the regular sword, and it's made of that rubbery, soft, malleable plastic that warps in the scabbard. When you contrast that with here, let me bring in the video game Geralt. He has these nice, solid plastic swords that they sit in his scabbards perfectly fine. They don't warp. They don't bend. So I wish that would have carried over with the Netflix Geralt figure. And then, by contrast, his hair is too hard of a plastic. It limits the neck rotation. So they should have just switched the materials, basically. But really, those are my only two gripes. Articulation's great. Price point is is average, on par with the rest of everyone else's 7-inch scale figures. It's not going to be more expensive than anyone else's. What I'm really happy with is that the face looks so much better than the promo images. The promo images made it just look so gross, and it almost turned me off of the figure altogether. But the actual figure, and that's what I figured was going to be the case, the actual figure looks so much better, and I'm really happy with that. And you know what? There's one thing that I forgot. Let me grab that real quick. I forgot the cloak. It's not really anything special. It only comes with regular Geralt. Witcher mode Geralt doesn't get it. It doesn't come pre-tied. You have to tie it yourself. It's a little awkward. So I've tried to tie it, without it sitting on him, and then you have this issue where it's not tight enough. So here, let me bring it in for a closer look there. As you can see, it's not tight enough. And then when you try to tie it on him while he's wearing it, it's, the hair gets in the way. A lot of things just get in the way. It's a little awkward, but I wasn't really intending to pose him with the cloak anyways. So it's not a huge deal. But it's worth noting that the cloak isn't anything special. It's more of an extra thing. So getting on back to this, would I recommend Witcher mode Geralt? Only if you want the silver sword, because the figure itself, it's the same mold, same body as regular Geralt, but the head is just god-awful. It's actually terrifying to look at the damn thing. It's either terrifying or hilarious, but it's not badass like it's supposed to be. It's just weird. Like, how did this pass, quality control and all the other checks and everything that these figures have to go through? I don't get how they came up with this. But McFarlane does sort of have an issue with face sculpts, at least in their more recent figures. Even video game Geralt, his proportions are just a tiny bit bloated. That's still a figure worth getting, but you know, like I said, look at that Witcher mode Geralt figure. That's just, I don't know who thought that looked good, but it's bad. So regular Geralt is a go. Witcher mode only if you want the silver sword, and you might want to consider waiting until Roach comes out, because Roach comes with the silver sword. He's going to be more expensive, but at least you're getting a different figure if you have the room to pose Geralt with a horse. So that's going to do it for this video, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.